So today's question is going to be, does reality dream because it's autopoietic, or does autopoiesis dream because it's reality? So what is reality now? Is reality the indiscernibility, the tautological identity, the sameness, the brute facts, the rigid designator, and the Saul Kripkean sense of transworld identity, given every possible abstracta and Thomistic or nominalistic objects that can ever people and exist across the narrowscape? Well, the question is reality a narrow poetic or autopoietic because precisely it is a sentient and sapient being, or is everything autopoietic precisely because it's reality? So I think that the notion of reality being reduced to mereological axioms, whether it should be mereological essentialist or it should be mereological nihilistic, is very fascinating. And I think that the notion of whether all possible realities can be reduced to mathematical formalism is also a very fascinating and mind-boggling tangent that can potentially also potentialize itself in various possibilisms and model theory and the relation between all possible abstract objects. Now, why does the relation between abstract sign and sense exist? So there's obviously a lot more ontological questions going on than there is brute fact answers that can be modally necessary across all possible worlds. And what does it mean to be modally necessary across all possible worlds to begin with? So I think that the ultimate bottom line is that if the cosmos itself is an autopoietic substance, well, why is that in the Spinoza sense? It's because it's the facet of a modality within a run of ever infinite modes that comprise an underlying ontological substance, or the ousia in Aristotelian terms, that is necessary absolutely for all persistence in the indiscernible sphere kind of sense in reference. So I think that you could look at it dialectically or dialectically in both modalities, both ways. You could say, well, reality is itself autopoietic and autopoiesis is itself reality, and it's merely the kind of the Kantian noumenal or perceptual subjectivist frame you take. And if whether you can directly perceive the objectivity or subjectivity kind of depends on where you are relativistically within your space-time invariant reference frame. So I think that in itself is a relativistic. Now, if you take a Parmenian anti-relativistic ontology, well, then it's simultaneously both. So you're kind of experiencing two halves at once, like two brain hemispheres kind of balancing themselves out as you balance. So it's kind of Cartesian dualism is really interactionism. It's really emanationism. It interacts not just dualistically, but tritheistically, quadritheistically. It interacts with this linear algebraic pointillisms, or points across the spatial temporal range and continuum of points that necessitate the hard problems of consciousness. So I think that this Hegelian question of whether reality itself is autopoietic, well, is reality itself the Autobahn of all unrealized potentialism actualizing into materialized concretion in Whiteheadian Hegelian terms, or is autopoiesis itself dreaming of reality? Can reality be dreamed by a Zangazian butterfly that emanationistically presents itself as autopoiesis in its most objective, mind and independent way or modality? So I think that why should one take metaphilosophically a dialectic terms in terms of seeing realities both simultaneously subjectivist and objectivist, or should one be a monist thinker and so reality is only autopoietic, reality is only autopoiesis is only reality? You know, you could say either way, but which would be metaphilosophically closer to the objective reality of the facts that exist in the mind-independent realm, independent of all the mind-dependent anthropic observers. So I think that ultimately this little tidbit of philosophical bites could simply be simplified into the mereological slicing and your perceptivism reference frame, depending on where you slice the axiologies within that said theoretic mereological object that constitutes autopoiesis dreaming of all realities, or reality dreaming itself of all autopoiesis. Now, which one do you take more objectively? And when might any counterfactualist, such as Aristotle, Hypatia, Socrates, or Edith Stein, is the mere topologization of reality in itself intersubjective? That's a very good emotivist question. But in emotivism itself is sometimes independent of the mind, such as in pan-proto-psychic beings that are very, like Bacterian, for example. So I think, finally, to close this brief philosophical interlude, would simply be that wherever reality is dreaming its autopoietic, or autopoiesis dreaming its reality, really depends on which wing or hemisphere you take of Zangazzi's butterfly, given your relativistic reference frame, if you assume relativity when it comes to psychophysical realism. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a blessed day. And namaste. Thank you so much. God bless you. If that God is Meinongian or a serendipitous sum of all quantum combinatorial possibilities of Earth stats is the mereological nihilistic sense. Anyways, so thank you so much, and bye.